Hey guys, Chris Saluski here, and this was the start, or hopefully the start, of a new web series I wanted to try, where I talk about stuff like movies and comics, and then I get feedback from you guys, and I do videos on what you guys want to see me talk about. So, today what we were going to start with is the Marvel movies coming in 2016. And we're going to focus on the three big ones. I think Doctor Strange might be coming out in 2016. I'm not 100% sure, but for right now, we're going to focus on the three big ones: Captain America Civil War, Deadpool, and X-Men Apocalypse. All right. So, what are my thoughts on Civil War so far? Well, I really enjoyed the comic of Civil War a lot. It was a little divisive between critics. Some liked it, some hated it. But I personally really liked it because I love the whole superheroes versus superheroes thing. They're working in some political commentary with it. It was actually really well done, in my opinion. And Mark Millar, I believe, wrote it. And it's not Steve McQueen, that's an actor. Um, An artist I really love, whose name I can't remember, did the art. I freaking love his work, and I can't remember his name. I'm such a dedicated fan. Anyways, Steve Whitmire? No. No, that's not it. Anyways, so I was a huge fan of that. Huge fan of Spider Man. Huge fan of Black Panther. Huge fan of the Captain America Iron Man fight. Huge fan of the registration storyline, which I think is really fitting considering the events of Age of Ultron, which I'm not going to spoil in case you haven't seen Age of Ultron. But it ties in really nicely to how Captain America Civil War is going. So, what do I really like about Civil War? Well, the fight scenes look amazing. I mean, they haven't showed us like a whole lot in the trailer, but from what they've showed us, it all looks great. It doesn't look too CGI'd. It all flows pretty naturally. The Russo brothers who are directing it, the movie, have a history with in Winter Soldier, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. They did a lot of practical effects rather than CGI, and it definitely shows here. The movie does not look all that CGI'd, which has been a problem with movies as of late. But the action looks really solid. Black Panther is gonna come into the movie. If you don't know Black Panther, he is a Wakandan prince who's. I don't think I'm getting too spoilery here because it's kind of his origin, but his father dies and he becomes king of Wakanda, which is a nation in Africa, and he is kind of like Wakanda's protector. He has vibranium, which is same stuff Captain America's shield is made of. He has vibranium knives and claws and a suit that's like lined with vibranium, and he's really smart and he's just awesome. He's a bit like Marvel's answer to Batman, sort of, kind of, because he doesn't have any like powers per se, but he's freaking amazing. Spider-Man's gonna come to the MCU. I love Spider-Man. I am a huge Spider-Man fan. Always have been, and it will be great to see Tom Holland do his interpretation of Spider-Man in this new film. I also like the sort of moral grayness that they're going in with Civil War, because in the actual comic, it's very much presented to you as Captain America's the good guy, Iron Man's the bad guy. And while I don't think they're deviating from that in the movie entirely, it's definitely a lot more like gray area than shades of black and white. Because in the comic, there's like a scene where Tony is like, am I doing the right thing here? And then in like a few panels later, he's like, oh no, leave Captain America to me. It's time to go beat the hell out of him because he's not following the law. Screw our friendship. And the jump is just really awkward, but it seems so much better done in this film than it was handled in the comic. My biggest complaint about the movie is probably so far that it feels like it might suffer from the same problem that Avengers Age of Ultron suffered from, and that was too many characters. Age of Ultron was originally, according to Joss Whedon, about 4 hours long, and then when you watch the original, you can see why it feels rushed, and there was a reason for that. You've got all the Avengers, plus the new characters you introduced, plus Ultron, and you gotta like fit them all into this plot, and it's really complex. And I mean, kudos to Joss Whedon for doing as well as he did with it. I'm sure that was in no way an easy task. Still resentful of how he handled Black Widow really poorly, but aside from that, solid job. But the Russo brothers don't have as much experience with having this many characters in one movie. So I guess I'm just sort of hoping that they know what they're doing and Civil War will not have the problems that Age of Ultron suffered from. So the next movie I wanted to talk about is Deadpool. And of course, Deadpool, as you may know, is a mercenary who has terminal cancer. So he goes into the same program that Wolverine went under to get his bones turned into adamantium. And he becomes a mercenary with an indestructible healing factor. He's also mentally insane. Kind of a little side note. What do I think about this movie? This movie looks hilarious. They've captured Deadpool's personality to a T. It's brilliant. Kudos to Ryan Reynolds. I never thought anyone could top Nolan North's Deadpool, but he's pretty much done it for me. While I didn't laugh at every joke in the trailers, I laughed at a fair bit of them. And Deadpool's always been a character that's a little, like, you laugh at 50% of what he says, and 50% of what he says, you're just like, the fuck? That's really the point of his character. So if you watch the trailer and you weren't, like, laughing at every line, that's okay, because the point of his character isn't necessarily that you're laughing at every line he says. Now, my big thing with Deadpool almost isn't so much a problem with the movie, as it is a problem with whether it succeeds or not. Because the internet community has been saying, and I totally agree with them, that if Deadpool sinks, the R-rated superhero movie sinks with it. R-rated superhero movies like Watchmen and Sin City, not really a superhero movie, but it was a comic book movie, haven't really done all that well. They're not profitable like Avengers or Dark Knight or Justice League is probably going to be. And they're just going to make those PG-13 because why make it R and exclude part of your audience when you can just make it PG-13, get the kids in who love superheroes, and bam, you've made millions of dollars. But Deadpool has a lot going for it. It's got gory action, pretty decent humor, great cast, and I really can't wait till February to see how Deadpool turns out. But now for my personal anticipated favorite, and this may just be because I'm a huge X-Men fan, but X-Men Apocalypse. Now, originally, when I sat down first to watch the trailer, I finished it, and I was like, what do you mean Wolverine isn't in this movie? I mean, he is, but they confirmed he's only got a cameo, but I can still be a little bitter. I mean, yeah, he's in every other X-Men movie, but I love Wolverine. I'll be okay. I really love about X-Men Apocalypse is the return of X-Men characters that the previous movies had kind of put to the sidelines, like Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Nightcrawler, to name the main three. I mean, Cyclops was kind of the whiny guy, Jean Grey was kind of just the love interest, and Nightcrawler was actually really cool, but they only had one movie. Don't know why. Anyways, though, I'm glad to see that hopefully they're going to be a lot more faithfully represented and that all the actors seem great. I know they got Sophie Turner for Jean Grey, Ty Sheridan for Cyclops, and Cody Smith-McPhee for Nightcrawler, and as far as I know, they're all very talented, so I can't wait to see what they bring to the role. What else do I like about the film? Apocalypse seems like a really solid villain. I always love his henchmen, the Four Horsemen, because I'm always a big fan of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and they're definitely included in here. So the Horsemen we've got are Archangel, Psylocke, Magneto, and Storm, which I thought was a very interesting choice. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Now, my biggest nitpick with this movie is that unlike Civil War and Deadpool, which both seem very not game changing so much as they're shaking things up, X-Men Apocalypse feels like it's playing it very safe. It feels like a comic book movie we've seen before. And I think it needs to break out of that shell, especially in an age where the market is now being flooded with comic book movies. So I think if X-Men Apocalypse really wants to succeed, it needs to innovate and do new things, which I think it's making a leap towards. It's just not quite there. But as a side note, Jennifer Lawrence, like, mostly starring in this movie, good call. And anyways, that's what I thought about X-Men Apocalypse, Deadpool, and Captain America Civil War. If you liked the video, leave a comment below, and if you have any other ideas for videos I should do, also leave a comment below and suggestions, and I'll be sure to do a video on them. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.